What's up, everybody? This is ThyCompany here. Welcome to today's live stream. Today is February the 15th, 2024. And for today's live stream, we're going to be talking about another funny work story about the time back when I was working at the movie theater kitchen. And we had this guy throw knives at me. Man, this was a really, really crazy story. And this was probably around 2015. So this is give or take maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. And what was going on during this time was, I was working as a dishwasher, but among our team, we had this guy who was, a little bit off, more or less. And he was part of the crew of people who were like prepping food. And he would be also like frying stuff in the kitchen there as well. And he had a lot of crazy things going on. I don't remember what his name was off the top of my head, though, unfortunately. But among, those people, he was one of the people who liked to act up all the time. And so what ended up happening was, I think, if from my memory, he was part of what I call the second wave or the second crew. And the first crew is basically the people who came in and started the kitchen. So after they built the kitchen in the movie theater, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, if you refer to yesterday's video, the Valentine's Day video, where I'm talking about the time when I was a chef at a movie theater kitchen, this is sort of the sequel to that. So if you want to get more of a prelude or like a prequel to what was going on, take a look at yesterday's live stream as well. But for today's live stream, I'm going to tell you about how, the crew, or what I mean by crew is the first wave or group of staff who first started working at the kitchen. So this is including the chef who created the original menu for the movie theater and for everything that they had there. And we had like an Asian guy who ended up later like dating the general manager, and I mean that's kind of another story. But I won't go too much into detail about all the crazy people, but kind of stick more to this one guy who's known as the guy who was throwing knives. Music all the time, and he would have very strange knife skills, like for example, he would never hold a knife correctly, and whenever he's cutting something, we had like a color coordinated code. So like, for example, white cutting boards would be for like general cutting, green would be for like vegetables, red would be like for meats, and kind of a system like that. But he would be like using whatever colors he wanted, and some people were picky about it, some people were not. But he would take like a chef's knife, and he would be like, "Wow, wow," just whacking full force at food. In like the weirdest manner. So like you would take an onion, it would be like boom at this onion, and it was just the funniest thing to be looking at. And he would be having this like very loud music playing. I think it was rap music, maybe hip hop. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it would be like very, the lyrics would be like all explicit. It wasn't a kitchen, so you wouldn't be, it wouldn't be easy to hear. And so, but yeah, that's what he was doing. Everybody was like looking at him thinking like, what's going on? And that's what his thing was. Like he'd be taking knives and stuff and just go full force, slamming it against food. And he had a bunch of weird things he'll do. Like he would start giving code names for things. Like one time he came into the kitchen and we had this crazy thing going on. And I don't know if people were like, doing something weird, undercover, but he would have code names for stuff, and he'd be like, "Hey, yo, man, I got that orange," and orange was like one of his favorite terms, like words he was using for like it was like a slang for something. It could have meant anything, but a lot of people thought maybe it was like for drugs or something, and that was the weird thing, though. And he was like, "Oh man, you got that orange, I got that orange," and that was his crazy thing. But what was weird was like, we had like a good manager, we had bad managers, we had times where we had no managers, and this was probably like later on, like when we were in the later half of getting a bunch of managers while I was working there. What ended up happening was the guy was starting to get pissed off because they weren't giving him one. They were not giving him a raise, and I don't even think it was because of the knives issues, like knife handling issues. I think it was kind of probably because of attendance more than anything. And then plus the movie theaters are very cheap. They don't do crap on terms of advancement, and it's kind of another hierarchy that I'll get into for maybe another video. But the guy was getting really mad, really pissed off, and so what ended up happening was he took like knives, and luckily where I was at that time, I was a dishwasher, so the dishwashing station was big. It was like maybe like at least a third of the size of the whole kitchen. For me, which it was great because I could move around and do whatever I wanted to, and make as long as the work was getting done. And we had the main like machine that was like an automated dishwasher, and then we had a 3-compartment sink. One sink was like this deep soak, whatever, to get all the grime and everything off if it didn't come off initially by hand, or just rinsing it off. And then we had like a regular thing, and then a sanitization like booth and all that. But I was over there and I was away from the automated dishwashing machine, and the guy was like had enough of it, and he just took the cutting board, and imagine this cutting board as it's like this size, and he's just taking it and it just goes full force across the whole kitchen. And this must have been like a good maybe 30 to 50 feet, somewhere in that area. And next thing I know, he's just taking these knives and he's just like chucking it across the whole kitchen as well. And it was just the craziest thing ever, because it's like, not only is it dangerous, my friend was like, "Oh, you could have killed somebody," and I'm like, "What in the world?" And I'm like standing back thinking, like, do I run out of this kitchen, or what? What's about to happen here? And the dude was just mad, and he would do a bunch of crazy things. Like if he gets mad, he would go full force onto like trying to physically exert that energy that was built up and stored inside him. And what ended up happening was he like started figuring out, all right, since they're taking advantage of me, I'm gonna go take advantage of them. That was his kind of reaction to like the management there at the movie theater. And what ended up happening was he was like, all right, I need to make some extra money somehow. And basically started, how my friend Tony called it, he started to act smart now. It was like, that was the term of like how he described everything. And what he ended up doing was he was like started taking morning shifts. He would work in the morning. We had one shift where he was like going crazy over French fries. We just had like a truck come in, and they had a bunch of potatoes that we had to prep for French fries for the evening shifts, when everybody comes into the movie theater to watch the evening or afternoon movies. And he was like, and we luckily had like what's called a potato press. And a potato press is this machine that has like a metal grid that you run potatoes through. And we were calling those, those fries that was being made, we called them hand cut fries, because, they're not really hand cut, but you could argue that it is hand cut. Let me see if I can pull up what a potato press looks like and maybe show you all right quick if you're interested. Yeah, basically a potato, what they call a, well, here's one that by Walmart they're selling. It's called French fry cutter, potato cutter. But this was a heavy duty one that was screwed into the wall, and people were going, so crazy over that machine that they were, not only were they had a machine and it had like a mesh or like a blades that were in like a grid locking pattern. And then they had a metal like box that they would, with a handle, and it would like slam it down so that potato would go through that that cutting net. but it was held up by brackets with screws. So the guy